going on, everybody? We're back out here on the International today. It's nice and cloudy out, which is really good. It's a little bit cooler today, so I'm taking advantage of the time to get some work done on this old girl. I think today we're going to get the fuel tank hooked up, get the sending unit put back together, and get this thing running on its own fuel tank instead of just off of a carburetor bowl by itself or running the electric fuel pump down into a jerry can. So anyways, I'll bring you up over here closer and we'll get started. I've got my work table set up over here, my little John Deere tractor trailer thing on here, but just jump right into it. Alright, so if you remember from last time, I put the tape over this hole so the moisture wouldn't get in, and it's a good thing too because we got some rain pretty heavily yesterday, so we'll pull this tape off. I'm going to have to come back later and kind of sand and coat this tank, but I want to make sure we can get it running and driving and stuff first before we start doing kind of cosmetic stuff like that. And this plate over here to clean it out is just kind of loose. You can see the bolts are sticking up. I got it set down on there and I had these holes covered. I already started pulling stuff apart, but we'll have to get those back in. And we'll have to make sure that the sending unit's in good shape, or the pickup tube is actually down into the tank. You can see the last guy greased it a little bit to keep from getting rust too much, and you can't really see down in there, which is cool. So I have to probably pull that inspection plate off. And I got 5 gallons of gas to put in it. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get up to the pickup tube. I really hope that it is. It's a big old tank though. And then we've got our electric fuel pump, and I didn't remember if it worked or not last time, but if I turn the key over here, try to hold you guys over where you can hear it. If I turn the key to run, that pump kicks on and works, so that's good. Anyways, this is our sending unit right here, or the sending unit for the gas tank, or the fuel level. I am thinking you can hear, I can hear it in there a little bit, still pulling on those little pieces. It looks like it's a 1-wire sending unit. I mean, it's all ripped up, so I brought some brake clean out here with me. We can clean all this off and see what's going on here, and I can get my multimeter and I can actually show you how to test these, as long as I can get it on here and film and everything. The tripod will help with that, but we'll test this before putting it back in to see if it works. If it doesn't work, I don't know that I'm really going to do anything about it, because finding another one's going to be pretty impossible. And it doesn't look like this unit, we might be able to pull it apart. You can see these tabs here. We just have to unbend them to pull those 2 pieces apart. So we could maybe clean it, but that's as far as I would go with it. So, and here's all the hardware for everything up over there on the tank. Missing one there. Hopefully that's all of it. And that's why I didn't want to vacuum any of this out yet before working on it, because a lot of little stuff like this is really easy to lose. So I'm going to get my tripod set up and I'll get to cleaning all this off, and then we'll do some testing to make sure that sending unit works. So what we're going to do to clean this thing off is obviously we're going to hit it with some brake clean. And then we'll scrub it with a little soft bristle brush, like what you might use for interior detailing or something. Just because I don't want to do anything to break the stud off the middle of this, because I know how hard it'd be to find another one. But get a nice coating on there. And just kind of agitate it. Get all over me. That's okay. There's a lot of the grime off. It's kind of pulling some paint with it, but that's okay. We don't really care about that. Just want to make sure that this thing's going to be working. And it's a 2-wire system coming off of the truck. So I'm assuming that this is our power wire and it just grounds through itself. Or it just grounds off of one of these side screws here. That would make the most sense to me. That should be good enough though. Clean my hand off here. And to test it, let's get you moved over. To test it, you just check the resistance with your multimeter. So we're going to set it to 2,000 ohms. Normally stuff like this is between, well, I want to say it's in the hundreds, like 200 to 700 or something like that. I'm not sure about older trucks like this or just older stuff in general, but I have no idea that you're going to be able to see that screen, but if I go onto this silver part here and the top of this screw, hopefully we'll get some sort of resistance reading. Find a cleaner spot. I'll put this on top and just let's see here. How about right there? I figured this was going to be difficult with only two hands, but see if we can't scratch off a clean section right there. See what we get. See if we bump this up to 20,000. Oh, I wonder if I could just use this wire. That'd be helpful. That there and this on here. Okay. So then if we rotate this assembly like this, you see how the number gets lower maybe. So we're at 0.02 on the 20,000 ohms. So that's like 200, 100 ohms. And if we bring it back the other way, that increases to about 0.07, which is 700 ohms. 7, 8, 9. So it seems like that's working. Obviously this isn't a perfect test, but you can see those resistance numbers jumping, which means our sending unit should theoretically work as long as everything else in the system is okay. Which is a big if on this truck. But anyways, pull our tape here. Still in sight, yeah. And we'll get our cleaning rag. Spray a little brake clean on there just to make sure. Actually, it wasn't very dirty at all. And we'll check the bottom of this. Actually in pretty good shape. Another thing that you would normally want to do with one of these is you'd want to make sure that your float doesn't have any holes in it, because if your float doesn't float, then it's really not going to tell you anything. I don't think we have the luxury of doing that though. I mean, I could, but this is so easy to get in. So easy to get in and out of here, I don't really think I care all that much. I almost forgot this little guy. Alright, that's that bad boy installed. Now the wires, unfortunately, were just kind of twisted on there. Oh, and I forgot to put this underneath one of the screws. That's okay. I'm going to try to get some new connectors from the shop to put onto here instead of doing like this onto here. This wire, and that seems wrong to have the power wire going onto here, but maybe it's just how it's supposed to be, I guess. So I'm going to make it the way that it was. Anyways, we move over to this side. These bolts pulled out of here. Pull off this inspection cover. And if we look down in there, I accidentally stopped the video there, but if we look down in here, we should be able to see nothing because it's so bright outside. There you go, you can see the fuel pickup tube goes all the way down in there. Is exactly what we want. Because if part of that was broken off, I didn't realize that was loose. Anyways, if part of that was broken off, then we wouldn't be able to put fuel in here anyways. So I gotta go get an adjustable wrench so we can tighten that up and then tighten this feed line up onto it. And then we'll pump some fuel up to the carburetor and see if this thing will fire on its own once I put some gas in it. Well, that's most of 5 gallons. I don't know if that's going to pick anything up on that fuel pump, but sounds like it is. So now, let's see if we can't get this bad boy to start running on its own fuel system. We'll see. Feels like it's in neutral. Oh, let's get a jump pack and try that again. Now, for those of you that didn't know, the battery on the cab overs is actually right here behind this step. And on the older trucks, you basically had to lift the cab to get to it. It was really frustrating. But on the newer one here, which the old one could have been because the floor rotted and was replaced or whatever, and then rotted again. But on this one here, I move all this junk out of the way that I used to cover up this hole. We got this battery access cover that's out, and then this rust hole that's extra battery access. So, I can get that trim piece to stay out of the way. I can hook my jump starter right there up to it. And if you guys haven't had one of these Gulu jump starters and you're doing stuff with these junkers all the time, this is the one to have. I tested this out on one of my 4-liter Jeeps sitting around. It'll run the Jeep perfect with the battery and the Jeep disconnected. And Project Farm did a really great video on battery jump starters, and this one just by far outperformed everything else. So I bought one and I have been nothing but happy with it. Anyways, I'm gonna get this hooked up and then we will try cranking on it again. All right, round 2, here we go. See if that jump starter helps out. Guess it'll help if I turn it on. Let's see if that won't do it. There's the problem. Let me show you something. It's acting like there's a bad battery connection. So if you look down up in here, this old guy, zoom in on that connector there. You see how loose that is? There we go. That whole thing's moving, that wire is super hot. That's not what you want. So I gotta fix that, and then we can try cranking on it some more. Take 3. I'll see what happens this time. Sounds like this pump's not getting fuel in it anymore. If you take a listen, Yeah, it's really loud. I mean, it's not sucking anything out of that end. And I'm not at all surprised. I mean, 5 gallons in this big of a tank, it's just gonna barely give it a little bit of something at the bottom. So I think we gotta get more gas for this thing. I'll put probably 5 or 10 more gallons in it. Probably 10, honestly. That ought to be enough to get it to crank over, or to fire up, I should say. For that battery jumper on there, though, it's cranking now. See if I can't give it a little gas. It doesn't sound like it's doing anything. Yeah, we'll have to come back with some more gas. So I'll run into town and get that. It may not be today, but I'll run into town. We'll put some more gas in it, and then it should fire up. And the choke lever here is also kind of sticky. It's not going back in for me. So I'm going to have to lift the cab and see what's going on there. As warm as it is today, it probably doesn't even need choke, but it should still kind of spit and sputter and try to fire with the choke on. Anyways, get some gas and get back to it. Alright, we are back working on the dump truck today. It's been a couple days since I was filming last, but I got some more gas to put in the tank, and when we turn the key, you can hear the electric fuel pump actually sucking up fuel. It's actually nice and quiet. We're still not getting the truck to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack the fuel line up here on the carburetor. This one right here. And we're going to see if we're getting fuel up to the carburetor. So I know if we pour fuel down into the carburetor, it'll fire. So we're going to check that, make sure we're actually getting fuel up into here. Hopefully we are. Otherwise our fuel lines are clogged, and that's not going to be fun to mess with. And that's kind of stuck on there. I'm going to need 2 hands for this, so I'll pull that off and then we'll video when I get the pump going again. Alright, I got this fuel line cracked. It didn't crack exactly where I wanted it to. It cracked right there at the carburetor. But you can see when I loosen it a little bit, some fuel comes out. But if we turn the key and get the pump going, see if we have something squirting out of here. Yeah, you can see it running down underneath right there. So we're getting fuel to the carburetor. So that's good news. Alright, you can shut it off. So I'll tighten that back up. It's not where I wanted to loosen that, but hey, if it works, it works. So next, I noticed that our choke here is a little gummed up there at in the cab, and I think that's this steel line right there on the back side of this carburetor. So I'm gonna get a hammer and some WD-40 or something to spray down in that cable, see if we can't get that moving, because we either need more choke or less choke, I think. But we really want it to open all the way so we can get a good look down in there and see if it's spraying fuel or not. So I don't think we're gonna see much in these secondaries here. So let me go and get some of that and then we'll come back. Alright, back to this. See if we can get some WD-40 down in the cable there. And then this all looks like it's fairly well lubed up, but we'll give it a little spray anyways. That's moving the cable right there. Can you push down on the lever there?
No.
Which way does this move it? Oh, it's not moving it at all. Alright, can you give me a flathead screwdriver out of that trailer? So since this cable is just moving back and forth, I'm going to try to tighten this down. Thank you. Having flathead fasteners is my least favorite thing about these old trucks. It's about as tight as that's going to get. Let's Try that again. And it's just moving the cable. That might need a replacement cable then. That's unfortunate. That seems pretty seized up in there. But for now, so we can try to look down in here. If we hit the throttle, we should see and hear some gas. You can hear it pumping, but no gas in it. So our floats might be stuck. That's one thing we got to check, which is a little annoying, but hopefully we can just take these little, I think they're inspection screws off the carburetor here. Look down in there. Yep, there's gas in that one. How about this rear bowl? There's gas in that one too. So it just might need an accelerator pump or something. Because we're getting gas all the way in. It's just dry firing. Anyways, let's try it again, I guess, to see what's going on. These plugs. Looks like the old plugs that came out of it the guy told me about. Actually look pretty decent. Hey Emily?
Yeah.
Do you want to try cranking it over again?
Cranking it?
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so we're just not getting gas from the bowls inside of the carburetor. So I might need to just take the whole carburetor off and go through it and clean it, which I'm not too opposed to doing. And I really need to get this choke cable replaced. In the summertime it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but when it gets colder out, I know that's going to be a bit of an issue. But for now, I'll pour a little bit of fuel down into the carburetor and see if we can't get it to fire up and maybe run for a little bit. And then maybe that'll do something and start sucking in some fuel with that extra bit of vacuum that we're pulling instead of just the cranking vacuum. So one moment, please. Okay. This isn't the best way to do this, but we can. A little gas in here. That ought to be enough to make it fire. At least for a second. Show the engine. Well, looks like that's all it needed. Just a little bit more vacuum to pull the fuel down in there. It's loud. I'm sure you can hear. That manifold is cracked right there. And then theoretically, if this accelerator pump's not working, it shouldn't rev up very good. Now you hear how it stalls out? That's because that accelerator pump is blown out. So we're gonna have to get a carb rebuild kit for this, which won't be expensive. I think those are only gonna be like 20 bucks locally at the Napa or something. And these four barrel carburetors like this are pretty common in this era of truck, especially this size. International used them for a long time, and you can find them in the Scouts and some other stuff too. So I'm not too worried about finding parts for that. But for now, that's going to be the end of working for a little bit. And Like I said, when it was running, it's got this exhaust manifold that's cracked, which is pretty unfortunate, but that's okay. New exhaust manifold, I was looking online, they're like $100, which is really not that bad. But there it is running. So we're gonna lift the cab back up, get this prop bent to go over again, and then lower it down. It's super nice having this jack right here. The other truck did not. I think that's gonna be all for today. The only other annoying thing is this transmission stick hits the bottom of the cab if you're not careful. And it'll actually hold the cab up with the shifter.
Nice.
It's really not good for it. I might need your help with that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Can fly in here.
Sure did. It doesn't want to be in there.
Nope. Luna kept staring at it. I was like, what are you staring at? I thought it was on the outside, but it's definitely not on the outside.
We drop it down a little bit. Should start moving. There it goes. I need a piece of wood in there or something. It's cool how they go up like this though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's neat looking. Is it coming down?
Yes.
There it goes.
Nice.
Lock that into place. Well, that's going to be all for this episode, I guess, because I'm going to have to pull the carburetor out of this and clean it up and have a rebuild kit for it, especially since that accelerator pump is shot. So hopefully that's not going to be too hard to do, too hard to find it apart. I don't think it should be. Anyways, if you want to stay tuned on this truck and kind of see us get it running and driving and go through that whole process, make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one. Hope to see you there.